We're here. Yay, it's another week. It's another Get Your News On with Ron week. Happy Monday. Hope everyone is having a good one. Happy Earth Day. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I had a great weekend, actually. The first house show of the year was amazing. Shout out to everybody in Boulder Creek, California who came out. I had so much fun. Such a cool place. Check out Steve and everyone at Slow News Day. They're awesome. What's up, Frederick? What's up, Karen? What's up, Rochelle? Hello, Aiden. Good to see everybody. We got a lot to talk about today. Hopefully we'll get to everything. That's my goal. We'll see if I get there. Lucy's talking. She's chatty. What's up, Joshua? Good to see you, my man. I hope you are well. Oh, come here, Luce. I know. Howdy, howdy, Mama Alaska. There you go. What's up, Snork? What's up, Lee? Lucy's chatty today. What's up, Steve? Good to see you, my man. Keep on rocking in the free world. It's a good tune. Hello, Ray. Hello, Larry. What's up, B-Dub? Lucy. Hello, Joe. Hello, Chris. No notification, you say. Yet another candidate running in the race. Oh, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Yes. Lucy, Susan says good morning. Do you have something to say? I was hoping she'd make a sound for you. But she didn't. She's like, I do not perform on command. I'm petting her, by the way. You probably can't see, but that's what this arm is doing. It's petting my cat. She's chilling on the ground. She'll jump up if she feels like it. You know how she rolls. Right, Luce? I think we got to be at about 30 at this point. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Happy Monday. It is Earth Day. It is Music Monday. What more can you ask for, really? What a combo of days. All on the same day. That's a freaking party. Melissa says hit that like button. I like Melissa's advice. If you want to follow it, that'd be super. Much appreciated. Smash that like button. So, if you want to look at Earth Day and the fact that this weekend was, the weekend where, the day where people celebrate pot a good bit, I suppose. By the way, my song for the day, On a Turntable by The Interrupters. That was what was in my head when I woke up this morning. And I think it's a pretty good song, reflecting on life, reflecting on the world. It's joyous, it's bittersweet, it's a fun melody. It's a great tune. On a Turntable by The Interrupters. But here's the music news for this week, and this was brought to us by, I believe Edwin shared this. So it turns out, in the Haight-Ashbury days of the 1960s, which, by the way, this is also very appropriate because I spent my weekend in San Francisco. Friday, I had the first house show of the year in Boulder Creek, California. Shout out to everyone who showed up. We had an amazing time. And then I went to San Francisco, which isn't too far away, for the rest of the weekend to hang out with my sister. And we made an Easter dinner. It was actually an Easter/Passover dinner because her fiance's Jewish, so we had both meals going on, and that was really cool. I'm not a religious person at all, but it's always nice to have an excuse to just throw a big meal and hang out with friends and family and have a good old time. So we did that. So I was just in San Francisco, and it turns out back in the prime of the Haight-Ashbury days in the 60s, there was a band that went under the radar, and they were an all-female psychedelic band who is finally getting the recognition that they deserve, and they're called Ace of Cups. This is from NPR, Nice Polite Republicans, and I shout out to NPR for being on top of this. When I think of tastemakers that are on the pulse of what's hip and cool, NPR usually comes to my mind first. I'm like, they're always they get it. Although I can't make fun. I'm being a hypocrite right now because this is my first time hearing about this. So NPR beat me to the punch here. So I can't judge too much. I'm willing to poke fun at myself too. I missed this. I missed this party. I missed it in the 60s. I missed it last year when the album dropped. And I'm just getting around to it now because somebody was nice enough to tweet it to me. And I thought it was a fun Music Monday story, especially since Earth Day. Right? All right. Let's see what's going on. Ace of Cups gets a first chance at an overdue debut. And this is from January, so this happened a minute ago. Here they are now. There's a picture of them now. And here they are in the 60s. So there you go. And this is decades after their original run in the 1960s in San Francisco. Joel Selvin remembers the San Francisco music scene of the late 60s as an especially fertile time for experimentation. There was tremendous hunger and openness for musical influence. World music, Indian music, rhythm and blues, jazz, and that was all new in the world of popular music. At the time, one band stood out for its talent and its unusual lineup. Ace of Cups just didn't feature a powerhouse female vocalist in the mold of Janis Joplin, but 5 women who sang, played their own instruments, and wrote their own music. Ace of Cups played their instruments with the same kind of accomplishment that the males did. They were on so many bills starting in the summer of 67, but they were a complete anomaly in the San Francisco hippie world. So these ladies are Mary Gannon, Marla Hunt, Denise Kaufman, Mary Ellen Simpson, and Diane Vitalesh, and they all met in the Haight-Ashbury district. They had all been in other bands, but Gannon, who plays bass, says they weren't always treated as equals. So here's what Gannon said. I had been in a band called The Demon Lover, and I was supposed to be a backup singer and play the tambourine. It was like the man band. Gannon knew right away Ace of Cups was going to be different. We approached songs differently. I can remember the first day that Denise showed up and played a song, like she was already a songwriter. And I just think the fact that we were girls and she was a girl meant we weren't going to step on her music. So the band informally recorded its rehearsals and shows. They built a following, and they were playing venues such as the Fillmore, the Avalon Ballroom, and Winterland. Several labels expressed interest, but nothing ever happened. So after a few years, Ace of Cups called it quits. Now keep in mind, I know I'm pointing out the obvious here, so maybe this isn't necessary to point out, but, this was back in the 60s where it was pretty much record deal or bust. It wasn't like today where you can just kind of throw your music up wherever, and a lot of bands don't even have labels anymore these days. This was back in the 60s where if you didn't eventually have some kind of relationship, bend the ear of some kind of gatekeeper, you were stuck. There was really nothing else you could do other than gig locally. So, all right, back to this. So after a few years, they called it quits, and the members certainly never expected to reach faraway fans, but they did. Growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, I got fascinated with the San Francisco sound. Now, this is coming from Alec Paleo, an Englishman. So Alex scored every book that he could find on Jefferson Airplane and the Great Society and the Grateful Dead, and he kept hearing about this band called Ace of Cups. So he eventually got his hands on a few bootleg tapes. And when Paleo became the scout for a UK-based reissue label, coincidentally called Ace Records, he collaborated with Ace of Cups to release the band's rehearsals and live recordings. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So Ace of Cups' self-titled debut album came out in November of 2018. It's a double album featuring 4 of the band's original members, plus contributions from longtime friends, including Buffy St. Marie and the Grateful Dead's Bob Weir. Joel Selvin says the talent and energy that set the band apart 50 years ago still shines through. Ace of Cups today are this vibrant, exciting time capsule that lives in the contemporary world. And for Gannon, the debut album is a full circle moment to where Ace of Cups began. We just happen to be girls playing music, having fun. What a cool story. I want to check out their album. I think that'd be really cool. Ace of Cups. Check them out. And it's always really cool when you hear stories like this. Another story that's kind of similar to this one is a band called Death. If you have not seen that documentary, go see it. It's about arguably the first ever punk band, and it happened in Detroit. And it was 3 black guys playing rock and roll music in Detroit at a time where back then, if you were 3 black guys, you were supposed to be doing Motown. They didn't know what to make of 3 black guys playing this type of heavy rock and roll music. It was a different time. So those guys never really went anywhere, but years later, the world came looking for their music. And Ace of Cups, back then it was still a guy's game in the psychedelic rock world. They were told to just bang the tambourine and do backing vocals. They wanted to do more than that. They went under the radar, but years later, the world came looking. Those are beautiful stories. Those are beautiful stories about culture, beautiful stories about togetherness, beautiful stories about never giving up, about work, about art, about the bittersweet evolution of society, and about righting the wrongs that were committed years ago. These are cool stories, and this is my first introduction to Ace of Cups. NPR beat me to it, because I'm just not that hip, I'm really not. So that's a cool way to start Music Monday, especially since, hey, they came from the hippie movement, and Haight-Ashbury, the recording of this, it's Earth Day. Today is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. All right, let's do an Earth Day story first. Then we got some 2020 news. Then we got some other stuff. Boom. That's how the show's happening. All right, first, Earth Day. So this article is from Vox, which, some stuff I like from Vox, some stuff I really don't. But I thought this article was kind of neat for Earth Day today. Here's 7 things we've learned about Earth since last Earth Day. We learned that we might not be here much longer. No, so here we go. Let's go straight to the bullet points here. They have a little preamble, but whatever. Kids today face a truly frightening climate future, and they're mad as hell at adults for neglecting the problem. Many people under the age of 18 right now may be around to see the end of the century, and a growing number of them are not pleased with the climate they're inheriting. Our current trajectory puts the planet on course to warm by 4 degrees Celsius by 2100, creating a world that will be devastated by disasters, droughts, disease, and food shortages. In March of this year, students in more than 120 countries went on strike from school to demand action on climate change. These climate strikes are part of a youth-led climate activism movement with another global strike planned for May 24th. The hashtag Fridays for Future strike movement began when Greta Thunberg, a 16-year-old from Sweden, began skipping school and picketing outside the Swedish parliament to protest her government's inaction on climate change in August. She has since become something of a global ambassador for youth anxieties about climate change and has pressured European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker to commit €1 trillion to fight climate change. Man, I'll tell you what, this generation, the fact that they're so vocal about these issues is nothing short of incredible. When I was a kid, we weren't protesting anything of note. At least I sure wasn't, and there were certainly no mass movements like this. It's really inspiring, and especially since this generation of young people, they only know, especially here in the United States, they only know war. They only know war. We've been at war as long as they've been alive. They only know war, and they only know economic despair. That's all they know. They only know a shrinking job market, shrinking opportunities, crippling debt, and war. And the knowledge of, hey, we had to act on climate change yesterday. That's the world they know. And they're being loud. And that's one thing that can give you a little bit of hope for the future. That these young people aren't going to stand for it. And when I say young people, I mean the people in middle school and high school and college right now. All right, let's move on to number 2. Plastic is increasingly not fantastic. Whales washing ashore filled with plastic have become distressingly familiar sign of the immense amount of plastic we've allowed to wash into an ocean. A pregnant sperm whale was found with 49 pounds of plastic in her stomach. In March, a cover's beaked whale was found vomiting blood off the coast of the Philippines. Oh, God. It died a few hours later with 88 pounds of plastic waste that were discovered in its stomach. We only recycle about 9% of the plastic we produce, and even that tiny fraction is under threat. China, the world's largest recyclable plastic importer, began to slash its intake last year. The move has rippled throughout the world. It's already forced some recycling programs in the United States to shut down entirely. Number 3, life is so much heavier than we thought. Have you ever contemplated how much every plant, fungus, bacterium, insect, bird, fish, and mammal all put together would weigh? Maybe not, but last year scientists did just that, calculating the total mass of all life on Earth as we know it. Okay, so there's a helpful visual for the mass of all life. The mass of bacteria is 1,100 times more than the mass of all humans put together. That's interesting. All right, so there you go. Number 4, frogs are croaking from a nasty fungus. Play on words there. Frogs are often sentinel species that scientists study closely because they are especially sensitive to changes in their environment, like temperature, rainfall, habitat loss, and invasive species. Sentinel species are also serve critical roles as predators and prey in their habitats. Their fates... All right. So there's this amphibian fungus that is taking out a lot of frogs. So this fungus has driven 90 frog species to extinction and forced another 124 to decline. The population has only been going on for about the last 50 years. While the fungus is deadly on its own, humans have aided its spread around the world. The disease is hard to eradicate, but there is some evidence that the pace of decline is slowing down. So, going on this, life is disappearing, appearing, and evolving right in front of us. That's number 5. The World Wildlife Fund reported that vertebrate populations have declined by a jaw-dropping average of 60% since 1970. That includes birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. Yet, even as species disappear, we do occasionally discover new ones. Scientists found 5 new frog species in Madagascar, for example. It's a regular reminder that we still don't fully grasp all the nuances of life on Earth, even as we unwittingly extinguish it. But perhaps, and even more intriguing and disturbing, is that we are changing life too. Researchers reported this year that as climate change raises average temperatures, sea turtles are experiencing a dramatic change in their sex ratios. Temperature is a major variable in determining the sex of a reptile, and in one species, scientists found that baby sea turtles now outnumbered males 116 to 1. It's a development that could herald a population crash among turtles. So basically, sea turtles are in a lot of trouble right now. But if you're a dude sea turtle and you're into the ladies, holy shit, enjoy the ratio while you can. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Male sea turtles, go out and get your fuck on. I mean, really. That's actually the best thing you can do for your species. If you're a sea turtle right now, man, the odds are ever in your favor. If you're a heterosexual male sea turtle. You got 116 ladies to you. That would be like the most popular college for dudes to apply to on the planet, if that was a real thing. Sea turtle you. Seriously, though, I hope those male sea turtles start breeding like a bunch. That's what they got to do. But I guess there's a chance that the ladies will just have more ladies. And then it's like, well, shit, because I guess the temperature has something to do with only female sea turtles are making it because they adapt to that better. So male sea turtles, start having sex. Seriously, I mean, it's not a guarantee that more dudes are going to happen, but you got to try. That's the ultimate pickup line for any male sea turtle out there. Like, hey, you interested? I don't know if I'm into it tonight, male sea turtle person. Look, we got to make more of me. You're right. We really do. What if I just have women? You want to roll the dice, baby? Let's roll the dice. All right, let's do this. You're a handsome fella. You seem nice. Here we go. Boom. Consensual sea turtle boning. And then hopefully she has a dude. I'm not saying that. I mean, all sea turtle life is great. I'm just saying that according to this article, and I'm just learning about this right now, they need more guys or they're screwed. They need more. They're only having 116 to 1. So, the brink is facing extinction. I don't want anyone to think I'm discriminating amidst the birth of sea turtles. I'm not. I welcome all sea turtles. I'm just saying, scientifically, they got to get some more dudes up in here. So hopefully, when the male sea turtles are like, I'm boning, they have some males, So, male sea turtles. But, all sea turtles populate. You get it. All right. So, let's get back to this. Male sea turtles start boning. That's number 5. That's what we learned. Male sea turtles, you got to start getting, and there's a little more pressure on the males because there's one of them and there's 116 females. So they really gotta be like, I gotta take one for the team here. I don't feel sorry for the male sea turtles. I'm thinking that they got a great life right now. They really do. All right, number 6. We have just over a decade left before the best case scenario for global warming passes us by. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a group of the world's top scientists convened by the United Nations, put out a stark report last year highlighting how little time we have left to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the most ambitious goal under the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. The key finding was if we want to hit this target, we have to cut global greenhouse gas emissions in half compared to where they are now by 2030. By 2050, we would have to reach net zero emissions, and after that, we would even have to start withdrawing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Otherwise, the window to 1.5 degrees Celsius closes, and we lock ourselves into more warming, which will lead to more sea level rise, more devastating extreme weather, mass migrations, and expensive declines in the global economy. And despite these findings, we're far off track. That said, we do know what we need to do to accelerate the progress in fighting climate change, pricing carbon dioxide, eating less meat, supporting public officials who will advance critical policies, Green New Deal. Right? There we go. So that's number 6. This is something we already knew. We can still do something to try to slow this down. The bad news is we're really fucking behind schedule. And not enough people give a shit that we're really fucking behind schedule. Come on. Right? Come on. There are male sea turtles out there just fucking as much as they can to do their part. They're trying to have more dudes. Or just more. Were you going to tell? Are you going to tell these male sea turtles that their intense all-female orgies were for nothing? Is that what you're going to do? I drink water from a mason jar. And this has been reused. Doing the best I can. Doing the best I can as an individual. It's not enough, but I do my best. Don't do enough, but I do what I can. One mason jar at a time. Somebody asked if this was vodka. It is not. But a couple people have asked that question. If it was, the show would be even weirder. All right. Number 7, a coming verdict on our right to a safe climate. A wave of lawsuits hinging on damages wrought by climate change gained momentum over the past year. Interestingly, climate science isn't what's up for debate in these climate lawsuits. Rather, the key fights are over the legal rights to a safe climate and whether parties are owed damages from those that contributed to the problem. In one set of cases, children and young people are suing the federal government for profiting off leases to fossil fuel extractors on public lands, despite knowing the damages caused by rising average temperatures. In another set of lawsuits, cities, states, and local governments are suing oil companies for posing a public nuisance. The argument is that fossil fuels produce heat-tripping gases, which in turn cause problems like sea level rise and threaten valuable shorelines. At stake are billions of dollars in liability for some of the largest and most powerful institutions in the world, and the cases could set precedents that stand for generations. These lawsuits are now working their way through the courts in the United States and other parts of the world. The outcomes in these cases are critical but uncertain. Look at this person right here. All right? This is an article about lying, but this person should be saying, climate change, we got to do something. Do something. Do something. Here's 7 things we didn't know. Happy Earth Day. There you go. Boom, Earth Day. I thought that was a nice little collection. All right, let's go over to 2020 news. This is the part of the show where I just get annoyed. This is the GOP, or excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying the GOP clown car, but this time around it's the Democratic clown car. The Democratic clown car has expanded, everybody. There's another announcement this morning, and look who it is. It's a guy everybody has heard of. When it comes to name recognition, this guy is knocking it out of the park. He is maybe the most known politician ever in the history of the United States. Everybody knows him. He is the one and only Seth Moulton. Seth Moulton enters the 2020 White House race. Representative Seth Moulton announced his 2020 presidential campaign early Monday, becoming the 20th candidate seeking the Democratic nomination. At this point, whenever somebody announces, it should just be greeted with like a press camp full of eye rolls. That's really how it should be at this point. There's 2 people just in Massachusetts alone, which, by the way, we have a little bit of Liz Warren news later. All right, so this guy, what's he all about? Moulton, who emerged a leader of the Democrats challenging Pelosi's path to speakership last fall, said in a video that he's running because we have to beat Donald Trump, and I want us to beat Donald Trump because I love this country. The former Marine's campaign platform includes a focus on gun control, national security, and addressing climate change. Decades of division and corruption have broken our democracy and robbed Americans of their voice. That's platitudes. This means absolutely nothing. Moulton said in an announcement, it's all led to an administration that turned away from our values and is shredding our moral authority. Trump's bad, you guys. Trump's bad. According to his campaign website, the 3-term congressman will travel to the early nominating states of New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Iowa this week. Moulton is 40, and he said for months he was considering a 2020 run. Wow, months? No shit. He thought about this for months? That's crazy. All right, so, I've never heard of this guy until now. I'm not totally familiar with him. But, I'm sure I've seen his name around, but he's not a representative I'm fluent in. What we know so far is that his announcement was, kind of another platitude word salad of, decades of division, democracy, we're strong, Trump's bad. So what is he going to do? What does he stand for? Well, it says he stands for gun control. He stands for, what was the other thing that they said? Here, let's go back to it. They mentioned 3 things. Climate change, which is good. That's good that that's on his list. National security. All right, that's code for he's willing to concede to Republicans on immigration. That's what that's code for. But let's see. What else is he all about? Let's see. What's something that... here's something. Here's a big one. Moulton dings Dems right out of the gate for single-payer healthcare push. Ooh, Moulton, you might have... you might have just lost me. Newly declared presidential candidate Seth Moulton criticized his Democratic competitors Monday for pushing the idea of single-payer health care. That thing that works really well in every other industrialized nation in the world. That thing that every other industrialized nation has, pretty much. That thing that because we don't have it, we're barely ranked in the top 40 of healthcare quality around the world. He's mad at his competitors. Shouldn't they be called his colleagues, by the way? I mean that's on the article, not on him, but you know what I mean. It's like we have such a stupid, just horse race mentality when it comes to elections in this country. I wish so bad our election cycle was 6 weeks. I wish so bad it was like only public funding, 6 weeks, that's it. And by the way, this would hurt me. Like if we ever went to that system, this would hurt me. It would be bad for my industry. But I still would rather live in a more respectable polis and take the hit than have this horse race circus that we have pretty much every year. Because really, when it's like you have midterms every 2, presidential every 4, pretty much every year, campaigning never ends. Like, it just never ends. Right after the midterms, people started for 2020. And it's by design. It's by design. Anyway, let's get back. So this guy's number 20. All right. I think I'm the only candidate who actually gets single-payer health care. He qualified his statement by adding that he qualified his statement by adding that, like his 18 opponents in the 2020 primary, I think healthcare is a right. I think every American should have access to good, affordable healthcare. Access being the key word there. I think it's a right, but you're not guaranteed it. You get access to it. But I think it's a right. You see how he just contradicted himself in that sentence? You should have access to something, but I think it's a right. Really? I have access to a BMW. But you wouldn't say I have a right to one because I can't afford one. But I have access to it. So you're saying everyone has a right to look at healthcare and be like, gee, that would be nice. But healthcare is a right. If you think healthcare is a right, you would favor policy that guarantees every American has healthcare, not one human being excluded. But he's not for that. Let's continue in this article. All right, so he had a bad experience, apparently, with single-payer healthcare. I made a commitment to continue getting my own healthcare at the VA, because he's a veteran. That's single-payer, and I'll tell you, it's not perfect. No system is perfect, Moulton. No system is, but okay. He said, if I'm elected, I'm not going to force you off your private healthcare plan. The question of whether the U.S. should eliminate private insurers during any transition to a universal healthcare model, they should, has sparked a divide among Democrats running for president and created an opening for Republicans to label the party as proponents of socialism. Ooh. While some Democrats have embraced the idea of democratic socialism, more moderate Democrats, who might as well join the GOP, by the way, have tried to shirk that label. And here's what Seth Moulton says. I'm not a socialist, I'm a Democrat, and I want to make that clear. And maybe that's a differentiator for me in this race. Moulton is not new to clashing with his party. He's made a name for himself crusading against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's leadership from the party, most recently mounting an unsuccessful push to oust her as the caucus leader after last November's midterm elections. Moulton launched his bid to unseat Trump on Monday, looking to make a splash in a packed primary field by championing issues like defense and national security. Sounds like a Republican that he dinged his party for shying away from. All right, so here's his criticisms of his own right-wing party. They're not heavy enough on security, and they support things like single-payer healthcare, which, by the way, most of them don't. Some of them do, and that's who he's against. And why is he against single-payer healthcare? He apparently had some bad experiences at the VA. What were those bad experiences? I'm not sure exactly. In this particular article, he doesn't go into detail. But apparently, he had less than perfect experiences at the VA where he gets his free health care. And because of that, he's against a model that works in every other industrialized nation in the world. He's against that model because of a bad experience he had at the VA. Okay, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Is he against closing all McDonald's in the country because he had a bad experience at one once? I mean, what kind of logic is that? And I don't know why I use McDonald's as an example. That's a dumb example, and I actually don't like McDonald's at all, nor do I go there. But you see I had a bad experience in this thing, so I'm against this concept that works all around the world. It works in every other industrialized nation in the world, pretty much. And the ones that don't have it and have something similar to what we have, they pay similar prices to what we pay, like over in Switzerland. But they rank better when it comes to health insurance because even though they have private insurance, it is very, 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 very heavily protected. It is very heavily scrutinized by government. So they still pay a lot more, by the way, but they do overall have better quality because there is a lot of oversight. We pretty much have no oversight. We just have a free-for-all for corporate for-profit insurance companies. And should the private insurers go away? Yes. The answer is yes. Yes, they should. They should go away. They should go away. If it's something, like elective services or something like that, like cosmetic things, then, there might be a lane in a situation like that. But for the most part, to really transition into a better system, the private insurers need to not be at the table anymore, period. That's it. They're gone. They're gone. So, Anyway, but this guy, Moulton, doesn't think so because he had a bad experience at a VA once. So, what else do you need to hear about this guy? Sounds like another nothing establishment candidate who is campaigning on, hey, Trump's bad and I want to unify the country. I'm going to unify everybody by telling you you can't have health care. I think health care is a right and you should have access to it. You have access to a BMW. You have access to $1 million. You have access to, you get the idea. If you think healthcare is a right, you support a system that ensures everybody, not one human being excluded in the country. And you support a system that works around the world, which is a single-payer, nonprofit system. And yeah, the private insurers need to go bye-bye. And if you don't support that, then you don't think healthcare is a right. You just don't. And when these politicians say that they do, but they don't support a single-payer Medicare for all system, they're lying to you. When they say, hey, the status quo is fine, they don't believe healthcare is a right. Because our status quo is saying healthcare isn't a right. So, all right. The Democratic clown car has expanded. Here's something interesting. Elizabeth Warren proposes a $640 billion student debt cancellation. Senator Elizabeth Warren rolled out yet another ambitious policy proposal Monday morning as she called for canceling approximately $640 billion in outstanding student loan debt. The Massachusetts Democrat laid out the policy in a lengthy Medium post ahead of a series of youth-centered CNN town halls Monday evening. It's a problem for all of us, she said. It's reducing home ownership rates. It's leading fewer people to start businesses. It's forcing students to drop out of school before getting a degree. The plan would eliminate up to $50,000 in student loan debt for each person with less than $100,000 in household income. The $50,000 in relief would gradually diminish for people with household incomes between $100,000 and $250,000. People with household incomes over $250,000 would not receive student debt cancellation. Warren couples the student debt forgiveness with a proposal to eliminate tuition and fees at all 2-year and 4-year public colleges. She presents the proposals as working in tandem. First, eliminate much of the student loan debt and then restructure the system to ensure that such debt doesn't accumulate again. Now, a spokesperson for her campaign said there wasn't specific legislation at the moment. All right. So, obviously, we don't know any details yet, but this is interesting to see, and it's coming from Elizabeth Warren. Now, the thing about Elizabeth Warren is you gotta proceed with a little bit of caution, because she kind of has a reputation of saying really nice things at opportune times, and then doesn't always have the policies to match it, or doesn't always prosecute the banks after she scolds them. You get the idea. So, and the camera just got kind of weird there. But this is something worth keeping an eye on. And, while I am definitely skeptical of Elizabeth Warren, and reasonably so, I'm also willing to listen. So I'm listening. And I hope this gets brought up on the debate stage. I'm curious what other candidates have to say about it. There's another bill that she had with Bernie Sanders was also a very good bill that would allow the government to make generic drugs. So it would really be a big thorn in the side of Big Pharma. Not to mention it would help sick people. So yeah, I'm listening. I am very cautious. But, I'm willing to listen. Interesting. All right. So, we talked about a story last week about how the government is trying to limit municipal broadband projects. And here's another, for instance, of that happening. Here's a summary of what's going on there. 26 states ban or restrict local broadband initiatives. Bottom line, faced with high speeds Faced with high fees, slow speeds, and poor customer service, many communities in the U.S. have turned to community broadband projects to free themselves from the clutches of major telecom providers. But this isn't an option for everyone, as 26 states either severely restrict or outright ban community broadband initiatives. Now, you know one of the missions of this show is to spread municipal broadband across the country. I'm trying to get municipal broadband in my community of Pasadena, California. There's other initiatives going on across the country. What is municipal broadband? Basically, you take the internet infrastructure out of the corporation's hands and you put it into the hands of cities and municipalities. Cities that already do this experience the best internet at a lower price. And it is the final and ultimate way to guarantee net neutrality and to make sure that that fight pretty much ends, because net neutrality is going to be written in the charters, and guess what? It's going to be buying for the city. So there you go. Chattanooga, Tennessee does this. Sandy, Oregon. There's a couple towns in Minnesota. Charlemont, Massachusetts. And the list keeps growing and growing and growing. All right, so let's go to this article. And here's the thing. Here's what this article is going to go into detail about. The telecom industry was anticipating this. They knew that cities were going to want to do this. So what did they do? They came up with charters and agreements to prohibit something like that from happening. They would make cities agree that, hey, we're Comcast. We're going to build here. By the way, you have to sign this thing agreeing that you're never going to try to build a competitor to us, i.e. your own city-owned internet. So big cable was anticipating this day. They were anticipating the day where net neutrality was going to go bye-bye. And they were going to be able to do what they want to your internet connection. They were going to be able to dictate what you see. They were going to be able to dictate which content providers load fast, which ones load slow, based on the ability to pay. They were going to be able to dictate if you were going to have to pay more money to access certain websites. They were looking forward to that day. And now that it's here, they're glad that they put that red tape in place so that cities can't build their own internet infrastructure. And just here is just how extensive it is. According to a new report by comparison site Broadband Now, 26 states have implemented laws that prohibit or severely limit community broadband projects. The report sets out a state-by-state investigation into what limitations have made their way from lobbyist pens to the law books, and the picture is pretty bleak. According to a new report, over $92 million was spent in 2018 alone to protect business interests at the national and state level. 6 states have direct sale prohibitions on municipal broadband: Arkansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. For the other 20 states identified, the limitations range from bureaucratic barriers and prohibitive referendum requirements to population caps and excessive taxes. So how do you not think? I mean, this is why when people talk about these issues and they're like, oh, I don't think it's something we need to worry about. How can you feel that way? You really think that the big cable companies didn't put all this stuff in place to prohibit cities from building their own internet infrastructure if they didn't plan on really messing with your access to the internet? If they didn't plan on making the internet into cable television 2.0? You really think they would do that? Or they wouldn't do that if that wasn't what they planned on doing? Of course it's what they plan on doing. And the only way to permanently solve net neutrality, and again, I am for every net neutrality bill that's out there. We need it, because we need to hold the front lines. But the permanent fix for this is to build municipal broadband all around the country. That's the permanent fix. And that's why big cable has red tape to prohibit that from happening in 26 states. And you can go to, so here's broadbandnow.com is where you can see this. So here is the actual report itself. And you can go down and there's an interactive map where you can kind of, it's not, so see, you highlight something and it tells you the code. So I can go over to California and I can read this: lobbyist-driven amendments that roadblock municipal broadband. So I can read this legislation. So this is a very useful tool as you're assessing community broadband in your community. And I'm continuing the fight here in Pasadena where I live. It's been a long road, and I only have so much time to dedicate to it. But we're certainly trying to get a plan out there. And if you're interested in doing this in your community, please check out my municipal broadband net neutrality playlist We highlight a lot of tools and a lot of resources. Check out Broadband Cities. Check out Institute for Local Self-Reliance and muninetworks.org. And know that there's going to be a lot of red tape that you're facing. All right. So here's something interesting, and this is going to be our last story for today. And I'm going to be back, by the way. I'm going to be back at 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time with Savage Joy from the Real Progressives. But you know how we would talk about the Press Freedom Index, and I would say how the U.S. is barely in the top 50, and based on our treatment of whistleblowers, we're likely going to be lower next time they do the assessment. Remember when I said that? We're probably going to be lower next time? Guess what? I was right. Next time happened, and guess what? We're lower. That's not something to celebrate. I don't mean to sound celebratory here. I mean, it's neat. I was like, oh, I was right. It's not neat that we're even shittier for press freedom. We've gotten worse. We went from 46 to 48. So here's what's going on. The U.S. slides down global press freedom rankings amid warning of climate of fear for journalists. Journalists are battling a rising tide of hatred, violence, and persecution around the world. An international watchdog has warned as authoritarian regimes clamp down on press freedom and leading democracies, including the United States, slide down the global rankings. Releasing its annual Press Freedom Index after a tumultuous 12 months for the media, Reporters Without Borders sounded the alarm over an intense climate of fear for reporters and condemned attacks on press outlets by world leaders, including Donald Trump. The U.S. slid 3 places to 48th. They're now below Bosnia, Chile, and Romania. Fewer than 1 in 10 countries have a good situation for journalists. So here's some. So Norway continues to be number 1. Norway is number 1. You know what Norway has? Norway has an institution, and they are committed to overseeing freedom for journalists. They oversee protection for journalists. That's one of the things this organization is committed to. 2, they're committed to prohibiting media consolidation. There are very heavy protections on how much media one company can own in Norway. 3, they're committed to protections not just for creators of news, but for consumers of news. There are very, very strict laws on all the transparency that's required by news outlets. They have to say who owns them in every for instance. So Norway has an institution dedicated to that. That's what Norway has. And again, where do they rank? Number 1. They're number 1. They don't just protect journalists, they protect consumers, and they protect their media sphere by prohibiting consolidation. We have none of those protections in the U.S. That's why we are number 48. Oh, and look who ranks a lot higher than us. The United Kingdom. They have that scary, scary state-funded media. They have the BBC, that scary, scary state-funded media. Meanwhile, they have more press freedom than we do. They're doing way better than us. BBC is not perfect. It's far from it. That's why they're not ranked first. They're ranked 33rd. But they're better than us. Having a state-funded media is a hell of a lot better than just handing it over to corporations with no restrictions whatsoever. That's what we did. Again, I used to say our media structure is toxic in the United States. Now I say we don't have a media structure in the United States, and that's toxic. That's a more accurate way of describing it. And I said we're probably going to be ranked even lower next time. Guess what? We are. We went from 46 to 48. If we try hard enough, if people continue to be silent about Julian Assange, continue to be silent about Chelsea Manning, I bet we can get below the top 50. I bet next year we'll be below the top 50. Land of the free. Land of the free. I mean, not if you're a journalist or poor. Good job, United States. Good job. And it's not just Donald Trump saying mean things that gives us this ranking, by the way. It's not just Donald Trump saying mean things to the press. It's the way we treat whistleblowers. It's the fact that Chelsea Manning is facing all this injustice and the corporate media has been silent about it. That the corporate media is silent and in some cases celebratory about what's going on with Julian Assange. You know, there's that popular meme. First they came for the journalists and, well, we don't really know what happened after that. And that's because a lot of the people in the corporate media, they're not journalists. They're stenographers. They're mouthpieces for the establishment. Good job, U.S. Getting even lower. Barely in the top 50, getting even lower. Good job. Press freedom. All right, we got to end. Let's see what you guys are saying. I'll see what you guys are saying in the chat, and then I hope you will join me at 11:30. Apex says, Land of the Freaks. I like it. Celeste, Lucy Treats. How is she? Celeste, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. I will use this for Lucy Treats, I promise. And Lucy is wonderful. She's hanging out on the couch over there. She's kind of sleeping. She was talkative and chatty a little bit earlier on in the stream. She was kind of jumping up on the table and stuff. But, then she bailed. She's like, all right, I said my piece. I'm out of here now. Yeah. All right. Chris, Ron, my cat came over to my computer and is watching your show with me. Tell your cat hello. Guys, I got to run because at 11:30 Pacific time and 2:30 Eastern time, I'm going to be back on here with Savage Joy from The Real Progressives. We're going to be having a Music Monday chat, which is going to be fun. So I got to go here. But a little bit of housekeeping before I go. Anne Marie, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. That is very generous of you. Anne says, you are doing great work. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. I really appreciate that. All right, tour dates. May 1st, Indianapolis, Indiana. Indianapolis, Indiana, May 1st. That's just me. Solo show, Indianapolis, Indiana, May 1st. Get tickets now. May 11th through 13th, Graham Elwood and myself are going to be going to Salt Lake City and Boise. If you want to go to those shows, you got to get tickets now. Get tickets now. Do not wait. Otherwise, there might be some news that's not so great. All right, June, we're going to the East Coast. Get your tickets. Do not wait. We are going to Baltimore, Maryland. We are going to Washington, D.C. We're going to New York City. We're going to Philly for 2 nights. We're going to New Haven, Connecticut. We're going to Boston, Mass. Get your tickets now. RonPlacone.com. That East Coast tour is going to be awesome. And get your tickets now. They're already moving, which is awesome. Grab your tickets, RonPlacone.com. And July 27th, Graham Elwood and I are going to Vegas, baby. July 27th, Las Vegas, Nevada. We're looking forward to coming back. That'll be the first stop on the Progressive Comedy Tour that we'll be hitting for the second time. Las Vegas, Nevada, second time in Las Vegas. I also have some local LA shows coming up. I'll have some announcements on that soon. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content. You help keep this show on the air, and you help me expand this show. I want to get new equipment. I want to have more streams. I want to have guests like Joy more often. So if you have an extra $1 a month, want to throw it my way, awesome. If not, I totally understand. Like and share these videos. Put the videos on autoplay so that all the ads play. That's how your YouTubers get paid. And don't just do this for me. Do this for all the content creators you love and want to support. You guys are awesome. Thank you for another amazing Get Your News On with Ron. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back on Tuesday. Same time, same channel. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. The news has been gotten. Doesn't even make sense. Peace.